If you've ever sent a cold message on LinkedIn and you're wondering why it didn't get a reply, well, I'm going to break down for you what your messages are saying and what they're not saying so that you too can get a reply on LinkedIn. So we're going to cover through exactly what works for us and over the 500 clients I work with here at Sales Bites to produce the kind of deals that you see, where we've brought in $1 million deal in under 40 days. We help clients land a $336,000 contract in one of the most saturated niches out there. And it is because of the way in which we structure our messages. And I'm going to show you exactly the frames and the methodologies that we use to create campaigns that generate instant replies, get sales calls booked, as well as getting deals done. So let's break into that. So as you're out there, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but I know a lot of people, they will do this A/B testing. They will try out all different types of versions of their messaging. They'll come to me and they'll say, Kara, I wrote it shorter. I tried longer. I made it more casual. I made it more professional. And yet I'm sending out all these messages and nobody is responding. And so then they start to think, well, maybe it's who I'm targeting, or maybe it's something to do with my offer, or maybe I just need to create more content so people can trust me when they get my messaging. But I'm telling you, it's the psychology and what you're doing in that message, which is the reason why everybody's just leaving you on red and not actually responding, or just telling you to go away. So it's really not the copy, and it's never been about the copy. There's a really, really great book called Pitch Anything by Oren Clough, where they break this idea down around the fight or flight, the croc brain, the spam. But this is literally what drives us since caveman, is that we are pre-programmed to make decisions very, very quickly so that we're not spending energy on areas that don't really matter to us. So when things come in, the brain does a very quick scan and goes through to the croc brain. And if the croc brain is bringing that on, then it immediately goes, okay, is this going to be a fight or is this going to be a flight response? And this is what served us really, really well as cavemen, as we had to preserve energy and make decisions fast, whether to run away from a saber-toothed tiger or not, but we still use it today. And so what happens is when you send a message out on LinkedIn, and if you're going to trigger any of the one things that you're going to use your messaging, which I'm going to cover here in a minute, you are going to be met with a fight or flight response. So flight being like, I'm just not even going to respond, or fight just being like, why are you messaging me? I want nothing to do with this. How dare you reach out to me and pitch me in the first message? Ugh, I hate spraying and praying. I hate pitch slapping, etc., etc. So I'm going to show you why and how to change that so that no matter if you are reaching out to an executive of a Fortune 500, or you're trying to get the manager of a small mom and pop shop who's on LinkedIn, it's just exactly what that needs to look like. So if we go back to the idea of the croc brain, when you go in there, telling them about your credentials, about your sales pitch, about how you could possibly help them, you've immediately lowered your status and you will trigger croc brain. And that's where you're met with the fight or flight response. Versus if you understand that you've shown that you can talk about their world, that you don't look like a threat to them, the croc brain is going to stay pretty quiet. It's actually going to let it through and let it process. So the prospect on the other end has even a chance to read what you're about, will go back and visit your profile and will actually give you a couple of minutes of their time and not file this away as a fight or flight response. So every cold message has a job, but no one knows almost exactly what that is. I see out there a lot of people, they'll be introducing themselves in the message. They'll be trying to establish credibility and sell themselves. They'll be explaining the offer. They create energy, urgency. I only have 2 more spaces for this, etc. Everybody knows that's fake. Or they're asking for some level of commitment. But this is where we see very low reply rates because the first message is being asked to close a deal, to book an appointment. And that's like, if you just don't do those 2 things, you'll see that your messaging is going to work a lot better. But if you see any one of these 5 points here that I just mentioned is in your messaging, go back and have a review, because I do see that a lot. I do look at a lot of campaigns, and this is some of the biggest mistakes that we see. Some other things that we see is just being very polite. I hope this finds you well. Wow, you are the founder of such and such company. You've been doing it for 11 years. That's fantastic. Your prospect can smell that from a mile away. When you come in over explaining, when you're coming in with just culturally being excessively polite, especially when you're trying to reach out to anybody here in North America, we just don't operate like that. We just don't talk like that in a one-to-one conversation. And so again, if you go back to really what LinkedIn is. It is a networking platform. It is not a social media platform. It is where humans and humans are having conversations. It's not a business page messaging a business page. It is a person messaging a person in the DMs, in a direct message. It's not email where we have to do these hello, dear, best regards, signing off, etc. It is a two-way messaging communication platform. So if you start to think of it more like how would you act inside the DMs on something like Facebook or Instagram, you're going to get a little bit closer to the type of style and language that really cuts through a lot of the noise and allows somebody to let their guard down a little bit more to actually listen and read what it is that you have to say. So there's one big thing that you can take away from this entirety of the video is that you should not be trying to get a sale or get a booked call out of that first message. In fact, if you just optimized the very first message for just to have somebody respond and reply to you, that is where we see a win. Because when we can have somebody respond, then we can work them through a 3 to 5 messaging sequence where then we look for when it's appropriate to transition and ask for a booked call. And that is really like the secret sauce of it all, is that we're just trying to find a way to identify what is the problem that this prospect is currently experiencing. Do they understand that this is, they talk about this being their problem, and that's when it's appropriate for us to transition and ask for a booked appointment with them. But we certainly do not want to do that in the first appointment, the first message that you're sending. So if you're currently doing that today, I would highly, highly suggest that you change up your messaging. And in fact, if you want to learn the exact methods that we use, we call this method the art of the first reply. I have a $7 45-minute workshop where I teach the exact frameworks and reply triggers and the decision map of when it's appropriate to ask for that call. If you want to learn what that is like, it's just a one-time payment of $7. You can go ahead and click on the link below where you can go ahead and grab yourself a copy. And if you don't absolutely love it, there is a 100% money back guarantee as long as you come back to me within 7 days. But I promise you, the very scripts, the very frameworks is exactly what we use to get all of the deals done. And you know, the testimonials and the case studies that I post here all over YouTube and on Instagram, they come from the very clients that we have worked on. So if you're still with me on this video, be sure to like and hit subscribe. And don't forget that every single week I put out new content on exactly how we use platforms like LinkedIn and Meta to book us with more B2B deals. Cheers.